Witches, wizards, warlocks. They are people who are believed to harness magical powers, especially to do evil works. They are most likely to be related to Satan, as people who have traded their lives to work for the devil in order to gain power and wreak evil among the living. Hello everyone, my name is Nathania Grace, metric ID CB18166, and the title of my speech today is The Salem Witch Trials. Have you ever been accused of something you haven't done? Or seen someone be accused of something they have not done? Being accused of something when you have done nothing wrong can be quite a painful experience. Even worse, the inability to prove your innocence can be even more painful. Prior to this speech, I have been doing thorough research on this topic and have been exposed to this topic since I was 15. The Salem Witch Trials. The Salem Witch Trials begin in the spring of 1672. Two girls, 9-year-old Elizabeth Parris and 11-year-old Abigail Williams. They are the daughter and niece of Samuel Parris, a minister of the Salem village, a title that he gained through the influence of the Putnams. The Putnams are an influential family in Salem town, and they are the rivals of the Potters who lived in the Salem village. These two girls begin having fits and violent contortions and uncontrollable outbursts of screaming, as well as severe hallucinations where they referred to certain people biting and pinching them in their sleep. Salem village was going through a very peculiar phenomenon when these two girls started screaming at night. So Samuel Parris brought in the local doctor, William Griggs. William Griggs, unable to find a scientific explanation for this phenomenon, diagnosed them with bewitchment. Soon, other young girls began to show similar symptoms, including Anne Putnam Jr. and Mary Lewis, which soon led to a hunt and arrest of nearly 200 people. But was it really witchcraft that caused this series of actions? Or could there be more to it? Here are three possible causes of the Salem witch trials. The first cause: disputes, rivalries, and personal differences. Many of those who were accused of witchcraft had unsettled amounts with the accusers, or were seen as a threat to the Puritan values. About 50 people were directly or indirectly accused by the members of the Putnam family, the Puritan values. The Potters, who were the Putnam's family's rivals, tried to organize the villagers against the trials, but they failed, and 19 of their supporters got accused for witchcraft. Some of the other factors are more to a natural side of life, but because people couldn't understand the scientific reasonings, they blamed witchcraft and sorcery. The next cause is the cold weather. So, the cold weather theory. The Salem tragedy might have been related to cold weather, which led to the pursuit for something or someone to blame for the hardship faced, such as crop failure. They were facing such hardship that they didn't have much to eat, only rye bread. And because of the cold weather, their crops were dying and people weren't getting enough. And because of that tense time, people were just searching someone or something to blame. And the Salem witch trials happened. Based on historical records, the years preceding the witch trials were very, very cold. The Salem witch trials took place in the 17th century, which was within the period of the so-called the Great Witch Craze, a series of people massacre who they believe were witches, even in Europe and US. But this period coincides with the Little Ice Age, a period which was abnormally cold and icy, and it was between the mid-14th and the mid-19th century. The next possible cause is ergot poisoning. Ergot is a type of fungus which grows on rye and less commonly wheat. It can cause nausea, vomiting, muscle pain, hallucinations, spasms, convulsions, and eventually death. It also contains lysergic acid, which is found in the drug LSD. LSD is synthesized from this lysergic acid, which is abundantly found in ergot. This drug causes severe hallucinations. Ergot grew in the rye grains which were planted by the villagers in the western section of the Salem village. This is where nearly all the accusers lived. It was a region of swampy meadow, and it would have been the perfect and prime breeding ground for this fungus. Every action has a reaction, and every cause has an effect. So did the Salem witch trials. A total of 19 people were hung during the trials, and one was pressed to death. Finally, in 1702, the General Court declared the trials had been unlawful, and in 1706, Anne Putnam Jr. apologized for her role as an accuser. The abuses of the Salem witch trials contributed to the changes in US court procedures, playing a role in advent of the guarantee of the right to legal representation, the right to cross-examine one's accuser, and the presumption of innocence rather than guilt. So everyone, before we judge a person, think. As in the words of Carol Tavares, as in all moral panics, an accusation is enough to destroy a person's life. Hysteria trumps evidence. Thank you very much for listening to me.